Welcome back to the Quick Save Podcast. My name is Alex.
I'm Josh.
And today we are talking about F.E.A.R 2.
The sequel to F.E.A.R 1.
The sequel to F.E.A.R Files.
That's technically true.
So, Josh, why don't you explain a bit about what F.E.A.R is?
So, when you get scared, it's a chemical process in your brain called fear. Oh, sorry, did you mean, I have to go find it, First Encounter Assault Recon?
Yes, or as my mother always used to say, false evidence appearing real.
Whoa.
That
indeed. We just blew my mind.
I'm dropping some deep literature right now.
Okay, so F.E.A.R 2 is a horror shooter. It's like a horror action adventure shooter. You shoot things. It's scary. From Monolith Productions, came out in February 2009.
It's old, man.
It's old, yeah.
10 years old.
I remember watching G4 stuff where they were talking about, like, F.E.A.R. Whoa, F.E.A.R's so good, right? Like, I was like, whoa, F.E.A.R, that looks way too scary for me.
Oh, man, 2009, that brings me back.
So, yes, the game is a level-based shooter where you continue to uncover the story of a psychic girl named Alma, which she is obviously a big part of the first F.E.A.R if you've played. I mean, she's a big part of all the F.E.A.R.
Yeah.
The whole thing. The whole
I don't
thing
think
hinges
we would
on
have
her.
F.E.A.R without Alma.
Yeah, it kind of hinges on her being there in the game. There's a decent-sized arsenal of weapons in the game. Pistols, shotguns, all the way up to specialty weapons like flamethrowers. I think there's a grenade launcher,
Yeah, we
right?
used the grenade launcher at one point.
We used that a little bit, yep. But, yeah, your setting is usually you're in an office or a hospital or a laboratory uncovering dark secrets, as a Black Ops special agent is wont to do. But, yeah, lots of long hallways is kind of your main gameplay loop, because in those long hallways, they like to play tricks on you. Alma, at the center of the story, this spooky, psychic, powerful lady is...
Yeah, she's like almost like a ghost.
Yeah, she like flashes onto the screen. They'll like lead you into like a corridor, like a bathroom or something. They'll be, whoa, maybe there's guns or ammo in this bathroom. You go in, screen flashes, like some Saw editing, like James Wan 2008 Saw editing.
The bright light flashes and flickers back and forth like a
camera
horrible
angles,
80s.
Yeah, smash cut like 9 times around the character. No, like you go into a hallway, the screen flashes, you see Alma for a fraction of a second, and then she's gone. Yeah, I mean, it's spooky. She's spooky.
Yeah,
Alma's
the game
spooky.
keeps you on edge because of that.
Yeah, there's like some music throughout. Like some of the scenes have dialogue and music and stuff like that, but it's primarily just like pretty quiet, in my opinion. Like I said, horror shooter. It is scary, and you shoot things. That's a very prevalent effect. We played this. I had not had any food. I was feeling the effects of this pretty bad. It's like, explore a spooky bathroom, boom, Alma. Get out of an elevator, boom, Alma. Checking your fridge to see if the milk's still good, boom, Alma. She's there. No matter where you go, she's there around the corner. She knows what you're doing. She can see you, and she's in your brain. Man, she's there.
She's everywhere.
Yeah, and her player model's like she kind of looks like a spooky witch old lady.
Yeah, so like she looks a lot like the witch from Left 4 Dead, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially like in F.E.A.R 2, she's a bit older now, because in F.E.A.R 1, she was a girl.
She was a girl, right? Yeah, so now she's older in this one.
Yeah, she's supposed to be like a teenager in this one, because in F.E.A.R 3, she's a mother. She's an adult.
Whoa, huge spoilers for later in this podcast where we talk about the plot of this game. It is very unnerving when she keeps popping out. But like I said, usually it's flashing. There's like flashing lights or something to that effect. There's a lot of bright flashing lights to kind of like, almost in your mind. She's messing with your mind, man. They're messing with your visuals. Whoa, spooky games in my mind, right?
Now, I don't remember, when we loaded this, I don't remember seeing a like photosensitivity warning.
Me either. I'm here to tell you, folks, this game was giving me headaches left and right. I was suffering, and it's not just because I didn't eat food. That's definitely part of it, but, like, man, I was so tired of the flashing lights every, 2 minutes.
I think their intention was play this in a dark room, and all of a sudden there's this bright light.
Oh, it's really scary, right? Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of dimly lit, for sure, but, man, it was taxing on the brain to see those flashing lights left and right.
I never really have issues with games, and, some games, are photosensitive. I know, Bulletstorm at one point had that. Far Cry 5 had it. None of that ever bothered me. But, Oh my goodness, playing through this for just even an hour,
It's a lot,
you
and
take your eyes away from the screen for a little bit, and like you feel them
yeah,
relax.
it's like Alma's in your mind for real, except she's just draining your stamina to play Fear 2 because you're like, man, I wish the game would stop flashing bright lights at me all the time. But yeah, the game is fun. Sometimes the combat can be pretty tough. I think we played on normal, or I believe
Yeah, we just played on normal, basic difficulty.
yeah, but even then it was tough. Some enemies, I mean, I feel like most video games I play, the shotgun just kind of nails enemies. In this game, I was using the shotgun. It was not nailing enemies. There's plenty of dudes with like body armor who would tank like 2 or 3 shotgun blasts.
Yeah,
I'm like,
not only that, but
bro,
like you
stay
had to be
down, man.
close to them to hit.
Yep. Yeah, there's low shotgun range, which I mean makes sense. That's how a shotgun works, right? But yeah, some of these enemies are tough, tanky. Some of them have like, there's a guy who has like a tank. They have like tanks on their back. If you shoot the tanks, they explode, which is kind of fun.
Fun.
Yeah, yippee! But yeah, it is a super fun game. Kind of basic shooting. We got to the, what are they called? Monstrosities or
Abominations.
yeah, so Abomination's the gray evil guy who fights the Hulk all the time in the comic. No, they're like spooky monsters. They remind me of the Resident Evil.
Lickers.
Yeah, they remind me of Lickers from Resident Evil. They're like these spooky creatures that crawl on the wall and stuff like that. Let me tell you, these Abominations are quick, man. They're speedy. It's tough to deal with them.
Yeah, they definitely make certain enemies harder to deal with than others. And I think that has to do a lot with how they want you to play the game. This is a game that you can try to play it how you want to, but in the end, the game will make you play it the way it wants you to play it. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. We had a good time playing it, but it definitely makes you get out of your comfort zone a lot to do that.
Yep. Yeah, it is. You need to be prepared for kind of all situations when you have these different kinds of enemies running around. Well, let's talk about one of the issues we had when we played this game. So we played on 360.
We played on the 360. The game was installed.
Yep.
And this was a game that I had played long ago. I think I played around the 2010, 2011 time, shortly after it came out. And I had been in and everything. So going back and playing through this was a blast. But I noticed that there were one Pacific load for sure, but there were some other loads that we would go in and there were key items that were missing. They just didn't load into the environment. And
well, that was yeah, we had talked about this. They're like journals that you can collect, but once you collect them, that's just kind of it, period. So if you had collected, so in your previous playthrough, you had collected some of these journals and stuff. So we were playing through, we're following this guy to try and find all the journals to get all the extra lore stuff, but they didn't exist because we didn't know that they don't load in because you can only get them once. So when you got them in the first playthrough, we aren't able to get them in the second playthrough, but they're already unlocked, essentially.
I had played through, I think, just the very first part of the level to get a feel for it before we had sat down to really play through it. And then on that playthrough, we found out all that by happenstance because I think we were looking there for a while going, what happened?
Yeah, we're like watching videos, and I'm like, it's supposed to be right here. It's not right here, but...
Yeah, the game didn't do a very good job of telling you that anywhere.
Yep.
It just kind of was like expecting you to understand or this be your first and only playthrough, honestly.
Yeah, we should have said, like, unlocked 2 of 7. So that way, you know, if I looked in the menu or something, it would be like, you already unlocked these. And I would be like, oh, that makes sense. The enemies react sometimes when you shoot them in the extremities. So if you shoot one foot, they hop around on the other foot, stuff like that.
They do end up recovering, but it's nice to see some, like, environmental things happen.
Look, it's no John Woo Stranglehold, okay, where you can shoot. There's articulated every part of the body for you to shoot and murderize, but...
Yeah, it's not Bushido Blade where if you shoot him once, the limb's just out.
Yeah, but it is nice to see it.
There is some, like, humorous writing for a horror game, honestly. That's the other, like, big takeaway.
Yeah, there's a character called Snake Fist.
Which, oh man, talk about a name.
Pretty much.
They were talking about how their mental abilities are like beacons.
Yeah,
for Alma.
Alma's honing in on them because their psychic abilities are awakened at a point in the game. And Snakefist says, "You're like free pizza at an anime convention. She can smell you, and she wants to consume you."
Talk about a line for 2009.
And again, that's like, it's like a scary game, right? So it's like, and they're like funny thing, again, like we mentioned, when you shoot them in the foot, they hop on the other foot. There are a lot of moments like this that are really like light and funny in a game that is otherwise very bleak and dark, and the story is very dark about Alma and her past and
the story
programs.
Is raw.
Yeah,
like this is not a light story. You know, I think they put these like humor incidents in there so that you have a moment to kind of go, oh, haha, that's funny. Because, like, they're going to be like, and then the world died. You're like, no!
Exactly. And then Alma murdered everyone, and you're like, bro, I was just heeing and hawing at these freaking goofs over here, and now it's intense. Well, speaking of the plot, let's really get down into it. We're gonna get into the plot. It is muy intense, in my opinion.
I mean, we all love a complicated story here on the podcast.
Yeah, we hate simple plots. We love the most convoluted stuff on planet Earth. So I'll get into it here. We need a little backstory on this one. This wasn't originally going to be a F.E.A.R game. This was going to be its own game called Project Origin. And I'll explain why. The original F.E.A.R came out in 2005, so this is 4 years after the first F.E.A.R. Seems like an abnormally long development time, even back in those days.
Yep.
So what's the issue? Okay, the original F.E.A.R was developed by Monolith, yay, and it was published by Vivendi Games under the Sierra Entertainment label. And in that game, we're introduced to the character Point Man, who is your main kind of like assault guy that you're playing as. And his whole goal is to try and stop a rogue psychic commander called Paxton Fettel. On the way, you kind of learn about Alma and how Fettel became this crazy psychic guy. The U.S. is making psychic warriors using Alma's DNA. She's super powerful. Kind of a whole thing.
I think it's important to note that, we were saying that Alma's kind of like a ghost. She has such high intensity psychic power, she appears as a ghost, not that she is one.
Yeah, she's not a ghost. She's like a real physical, like human, but she's just like psychic. And also all the soldiers have her DNA in them, so they're like, she can bounce around in their brains. And
they're
stuff
on the
like
same
that.
wavelength, if you will.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so beyond the first game, a separate studio, Timegate Studios, developed the 2 DLCs for F.E.A.R 1, Extraction Point and Perseus Mandate. Great news. Those are a separate game now called F.E.A.R Files, and F.E.A.R Files is both of these DLCs just on disc.
Yep. Because they were originally, I think, only on PC.
Yes, you could only get the DLCs on PC. They kind of continue the story a little bit, talk about more in-depth F.E.A.R lore.
Yep, and then when they wanted to bring it to console, instead of just putting it as like actual downloadable content, they threw it on a disc and called it F.E.A.R Files.
And I don't know when F.E.A.R Files came out, before or after F.E.A.R 2. It's 2008. Warner Brothers says, yoink, I'm going to scoop up the F.E.A.R property along with Monolith, and they start working on F.E.A.R 2. But there was like a big rights dispute over the whole thing, and so Monolith was like, we might not be able to get F.E.A.R back. So they were developing their own game called Project Origin, which is like pretty much, it's like how Army of Darkness is just Evil Dead 3. It's like that, where they were like, we're going to make F.E.A.R 2, even if we can't call it F.E.A.R 2. Because it was like, Monolith owned the rights to Alma, but Vivendi still owned the rights to F.E.A.R, or something like super bizarre like that. So it's like they could still use Alma and their characters, but they couldn't call it F.E.A.R or something like that. So eventually, this whole deal gets struck with Warner Brothers. They get the F.E.A.R name back. So now, yay, it can be a F.E.A.R game. So it was called Project Origin. Boom. We're just going to call it F.E.A.R 2 Project Origin.
Yeah, super simple and easy. I think a fair comparison is how Spider-Man was owned by Fox and then to Sony. And now it wasn't first in the MCU, and now it is.
Right, it's like licensed. Yeah, they
licensed in and everything.
Yep. So now F.E.A.R 2 writes the DLCs out of existence. F.E.A.R 2 says, hey, those DLCs aren't canon. That's why they're in F.E.A.R Files. F.E.A.R Files is like a separate thing. It's like, hey, same F.E.A.R universe, kind of, not really, non-canon DLCs. So there you go. DLCs aren't canon. F.E.A.R 2 takes the place of those DLCs. And then Monolith and Warner Brothers would go on to make F.E.A.R 3, and also there was a short-lived F.E.A.R Online game licensed out by Warner Brothers to Area Games.
Which I know nothing of F.E.A.R Online.
Me either. It was not very long-lived, as I understand it. Warner Brothers helped make this game with Monolith.
Yeah.
And I have great news about Monolith later. Monolith and Warner Brothers form a beautiful friendship throughout the years. They developed many games for Warner Brothers, so we'll get there. So now let's talk about the actual story of F.E.A.R 2. We don't have Point Man or Fettel, who are the two kind of main characters, protagonists and antagonists from F.E.A.R 1, but we do have Alma shows up in this one. And great news, Point Man and Fettel, Fettel's actually in the DLC for 2, and the Point Man and Fettel are in F.E.A.R 3. There's
Yeah,
there's a whole
they
co-op.
make a comeback around for the whole story, so that way
They're
the
very
people that
integral.
love the original could still love the series.
They're integral to like the whole thing,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah. Point Man Fettel, not in this one. Kind of. Fettel's kind of in it. Not really. Just in the DLC. But instead, we will play as Michael Beckett, a sergeant with Delta Force, who's like a Black Ops company here. And his team is sent to find the president of a company. Let me go find the name of it. Starts with an A. Oh, I thought I wrote it down. Maybe I didn't.
It's some really weird name.
I want to call it Alchemax. I know it's not because that's like a Spider-Man thing. I know we always talk about Spider-Man here.
Makes me feel like Spider-Man.
It does make me feel like Spider-Man. I didn't write it down. It's okay. You're here to protect the president of this corporation who thinks that everybody's worried she's going to be assassinated, right? So you have to go in and you're going to find the president of the company and you're going to protect her. Boom. So in and out. Smash and grab. How hard could it be?
Awful to deal with on the radio.
She is awful to deal with. Agreed. Okay, so you're going to go in and find her. You're in like a big skyscraper. The mission goes wrong. You're all on top of this skyscraper trying to find her. And then a reactor explodes in the distance. Nuclear reactor goes boom. And you're like, uh-oh.
I feel like I may have seen that somewhere before.
I feel like I may have seen that somewhere. That's the end of F.E.A.R. 1. Yeah, these games overlap.
Yeah, I think the real start of F.E.A.R. 2 takes place like 5 minutes after
I think
F.E.A.R. 1.
it was like 30 minutes or something.
30 minutes?
After the end of F.E.A.R. 1. So it's like, overlaps like maybe like 10, 20 minutes. And then, boom, you're into F.E.A.R. 2. But yeah,
it just shows how tightly knitted they tried to make these stories.
Yeah, this game came out 4 years after the first one. And they were like, what if it just happened immediately, like during the same time as F.E.A.R. 1? But yeah, everything goes wrong when a reactor explodes. And a now awoken Alma begins to mess with our squad.
So we talked a little bit about collectibles.
There's a bunch.
You can find.
There's a bunch in each level. Some levels have like 6, which doesn't seem like a lot, but the levels are long.
I think the one we found the most was like 11. I think there was 11
it was 11, yeah. 11 was a ton.
So, I mean, like, it takes some serious effort to find these collectible journals, and if you read through them, you find out something very interesting.
Here's the thing. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's required reading, but if you care about the story, which you should, because that's kind of the main draw of the game, in my opinion, you can find these freaking collectibles, man. They're like, so each collectible is like a data log or an email or a message chat between two people or personnel files. So, yeah, you start to learn a little bit about your squad.
And about yourself.
You realize, uh-oh, we aren't just random Black Ops soldiers who are assigned to this place.
Yeah, we didn't get picked on the lucky ticket.
Well, they did get picked, handpicked, because of their psychic abilities. You find a bunch of personnel files for you and your squad about, like, how the company that the president's for, how the company believes you would handle... It's called, like, the reawakening or something.
Yeah.
So it's like, boom, we're going to awaken your psychic abilities. Here's your % chance you would survive. So you find these personnel files that are like, hey, let's put these 6 guys who would be good at being psychic onto the same squad because we like them. But then the leader is not psychic. The leader is not psychic. She's just like there.
Yeah,
she's
just
the babysitter.
Regular old leader.
Regular old leader. No psychic abilities here. Nuclear reactor explodes in the skyscraper. You pass out. You pass out in the skyscraper. You wake up. You have some spooky hospital flashbacks.
Oh, they're doing surgery on me.
And they're like,
well, doctor, he's taking very well to the surgery. We've got to hurry. They're on their way. We've got no time. Oh, I gotta do it. I gotta awaken his psychic powers. Oh.
And then it like explodes, and then you wake up. It's like the beginning of Doom, where you wake up and you're just like there. Everybody else has just died already, and you just look around. You're like, well, I guess I'm here. So
guess I gotta go find a shotgun.
You're in the It's okay. I'm just doing Doom music bit. You wake up in the hospital. You're in the hospital. You're like,
I'm gonna get out of the hospital. All my buddies are in the hospital. I'm gonna find my buddies in the hospital.
So you gotta fight your way out. There's a bunch of soldiers from the company who are fighting you. But then you start to encounter replica forces. What's replica forces? It's going to be a whole thing. We're going to get there. But as you escape the hospital, not only are you assaulted by replica forces, you're assaulted by Alma. And Snake Fist, who's been talking to you on the radio, he's been monitoring your progress. He's your friend from the company.
Oh, I found the name of the company.
Oh, thank you. It's the Ericum company.
Ericum.
I knew I freaking wrote it somewhere. Ericum is the company. Okay, so your best friend Snake Fist.
We don't ask what he does in his free time.
We don't ask what he does in his free time. Also, Snake Fist was a potential game name for Project Origin. When it wasn't going to be a F.E.A.R game, they were taking like contest submissions to see what they should name the game.
Some of those submissions are so good.
One of the submissions was Snake Fist, which obviously they did not name the game Snake Fist. They named it Project Origin, but Snake Fist still makes its way into the game, which is fun. Your new friend Snake Fist, he's been monitoring you very carefully. He's like a researcher at Ericum. He's like, hey, I've got bad news. You remember those surgery flashbacks where they were like,
We gotta awaken his psychic abilities.
bad news. They awoken your psychic abilities. And not just of you, but all your army buddies too. You all are psychics now, and you're going through the whole psychic assimilation process. So now, much like Alex, you had said, that makes you like a beacon. And like Snake Fist, we had mentioned, he said earlier, you're like free pizza at an anime convention. Alma wants to find you and consume you. Because she wants to become even more powerful. She wants to gobble your brains up.
It's like that Skyrim meme of another hand has touched the beacon.
That's exactly it. His psychic abilities awaken, and Alma's in his brain and goes, a new hand becomes a psychic beacon. Okay, so I didn't really write this down, but there's also a bunch of graphic scenes of your team getting murdered. That happens a lot. We see our first one here. A machine, rips one of your army dudes in half, and he's like,
Do you see her? We must help her.
and he dies, and then he's talking about Alma.
The game has no shyness to graphic violence in any means.
The first 10 minutes, like a nuclear explosion goes off in the background, right?
It wants you to feel all sorts of awful 100% of the time.
Yes, pretty much. So, okay, you get out of the hospital, and you meet up with your team. And now you're fighting through these waves of replica soldiers there's like mechs. You're using big mechs to fight through enemy. We didn't play this far into the game. We got to the hospital, the end of the hospital stuff. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, the hospital was crazy.
It never ended, man. The biggest hospital you've ever seen in your entire life.
All right. So you fight your way through the hospital. Then you head towards the basement. Well, in the basement is the cloning facility.
It is the facility with the clones and the abominations. Yep.
And then below that, even further, is a battle arena where they combat tested all these clones.
Yep.
Below the combat arena is the clone storage where you have to fight your way through there.
Yep.
And then finally you hit bottom basement where you are met with an unkillable boss.
Yep.
That you have to run away from by opening valves and stuff.
Yep.
It's
So you
just
get out.
ridiculous.
You get out, meet up with the team, get up. Endless waves of replica clone soldiers. You're fighting with the mechs. We love the mechs. Mech was a big thing for this game.
Yeah.
No mechs in the first one. Mechs are in this one. We love mechs. So you're going to try and get back to your team's APC, and you're going to try and go to a school where Snake Fist and the Prisoner of Ericum are holed up. You're going to regroup with the squad, right? Okay, so you're fighting with all these guys. I think another of your team members dies. I know we're really sad about it. Finally, you get to the APC. You head to the elementary school where Snake Fist and the President of the company are hiding out. And it's there where you learn about the replicas.
I love that they make us go to an elementary school.
Well, it's not. We'll see in a moment. It's not just a normal elementary school. You go to the elementary school, as you do. Classic soldier thing, right? To go to the elementary school.
Classic true American thing to walk into a school with a fully loaded assault rifle.
Black Ops soldier, I need you to go to the 5th grade. We've got some finger paintings that need to be locked down immediately. You learn here at this school, the replicas are attempts to create psychics without Alma's DNA.
Because that's going to turn out well.
We made soldiers with Alma's DNA in F.E.A.R 1. They tried to overthrow the government. Didn't end up well. Now we made clones without Alma's DNA. Well, it's better. We can control them. I mean, controllable army. That always ends well, right? But so you get to the school and you find out not only about the replica's backstory, you also find out there's another secret project at the elementary school, classic, called Paragon. And Paragon is an experiment where they're trying to get psychic children to integrate into the company. So instead of making a soldier with Alma's DNA and then being you're a soldier, fight for us, slowly over time raising these psychics to be like brainwashed.
Yeah, just a classic grassroots psychic
Exactly.
and,
Get 'em early.
indoctrination.
Yep, get them in early. Absolutely. Classic. Hey, guys, hard stance. United States government has never done... It is never going to do bad things. Yeah.
The United States government has never done anything that is in regards to like mind control or psychic
No
abilities.
way. Never happened.
Please do not look up a
MK
project
Ultra.
called MK Ultra.
MK Ultra didn't happen.
It's not real,
all,
guys.
All fake. It's just John F. Kennedy's lies, man. They're lying to you. It's not real. It's
Yeah,
not real.
you're just like, oh man, this is totally fake, and
Men Who
no
Stare at
government has ever
Goats.
done this.
Men Who Stare at Goats. Just a fictional comedy movie, not based on real reports from the military in the 60s and 70s. Not real.
at all.
Not real at all. But yeah, so secret projects within secret projects. When you get to the school, find out about all this stuff. When you meet Snake Fist, who is again revealed to be a company researcher, he gives you an experimental weapon. I don't know what it is. I'm just told experimental weapon again. We didn't get that far. It's probably something cool, maybe like a crossbow. What do you think constitutes experimental weapon? Like a psychic gun?
It's probably a gun that can shoot ghosts.
Whoa. Oh my gosh. Talk about it. That's experimental to the max for multiple reasons. Secret Project 1. Project Origin. We're making soldiers who have psychic abilities. Secret Project 2. Paragon. We're indoctrinating and brainwashing children to work for our company about psychics. Secret Project 3. Project Spectre. Spectre gun. It's a gun that shoots ghosts. It's way cooler than the other ones. Yeah, exactly.
Ghostbusters
It's the opposite of the proton pack. Instead of like holding ghosts down, it shoots them out with violent force. Okay, you get an experimental weapon, which we have decided is the Spectre gun. Shoot ghosts out. And he tells you the only way to defeat Alma. Which I don't know why he would know this. I mean, it's probably revealed through a bunch of the messages and stuff because he's chatting with all the bigwigs. He's chatting with the president of the company.
Yeah, he's like very, very important into the story.
Yeah, this guy who has named himself Snake Fist is just his real name's like Terry. Like everybody in messages, he's like
Snake Fist here. I know what you're up to, and I don't like it.
and they're like,
Terry, is that you?
and he's like,
No, my name's not Terry. It's Snake Fist now. I know what you're up to, and I don't like it.
Once again, we don't ask this man what he does in his free time.
We're gonna stop Alma. And
everybody's like,
Dude, Terry, just walk away, man. We got it handled, okay?
Terry, have you taken your Adderall today? I think you're
Terry,
kind of all over
Terry,
the place.
you've missed all your therapy appointments for the past month.
Terry, have you refilled your Zoloft prescription?
Snake Fist gives you all the information. He says the only way to defeat Alma is you have to go to a nuclear reactor base. Clearly that went so well at the beginning of the game,
Yeah,
for reference.
we have a great track record going on right now.
Yeah. Very much looking forward to going to a nuclear reactor base. That was amazing in the first 10 minutes of the game, so I'm sure it'll go great again. He says the only way to defeat Alma is go to this nuclear reactor base, and it houses a machine that can amplify psychic power, and you, Michael Beckett, pretty much the only member of your squad still remaining at this point, you are the strongest psychic out of your team. You must defeat Alma with your heightened psychic abilities.
I do remember playing the last level of F.E.A.R 2. It's something that I don't remember 100% clearly, but I do remember playing a good majority of it yet. And you...
Well, give me a sec. Let me finish Snake Fist's whole bit.
Okay.
And that's that he gets murdered by an assassin immediately after he gives you the gun and the information. He's like, hi, I'm Snake Fist. Here's how you defeat Alma. Here's a gun that shoots ghosts with violent force.
You're like, Terry, what's going on, man?
Yeah, you're like, Terry, what's up, dude? He's like, well, have a good one, guys. I'm going to keep hiding out here. Assassin from the rafters cuts his head off. Rest in peace, Snake Fist. Now you fight the assassin. You fight him. Then you go to the base. It's called, I have it written down, I thought. Maybe I don't. Still Island.
Still Island. It's still an island, guys.
Kind of. It's 3 Mile Still Island. So you said you remember playing
the
final.
So I remember going into like the reactor thing, and I remember that there's like legitimately there's like ghosts you're seeing at this point, and you like have to shoot them even though they can't die, because if you don't shoot them, they deal damage to you.
Okay, yeah. So here, let me just get you there. All right, you go to Still Island. The president of the company is there. Well, we'll get to it. You get in the amplifier to amplify your psychic ability to fight Alma. You get in the amplifier. President of the company. She's like, oh, thank you for falling for my trap. I gave you guys your psychic abilities. I did that surgery on you guys to lure Alma out so I could trap her in the reactor as leverage against the company Erichim. Because she's trying to get murdered by her own company. Or sorry, her company's trying to assassinate her. So if
I'm starting to see why.
So yeah, pretty much. So if she holds Alma hostage, then she can look at the company and be like, you can't kill me, because if you kill me, then I'll have Alma murder everyone. So boom. Sucks to suck, right? So she's like, yeah, you're not going to fight Alma. I'm just going to lock you in the amplifier to lure Alma into the amplifier, and then you'll both be trapped in the amplifier. What could go wrong? So then Alma shows up, classic. And
classic Alma.
She puts you into hallucination where you're fighting your buddies, ghosts of like your fallen teammates or whatever. You're like the one remaining teammate you still have. You're fighting a ghost of him or something along those lines, right?
I believe this is where we go, graphic warning.
Yeah, please, if you
are sensitive to these topics.
Well, we'll say the topic, okay? If you're sensitive to sexual assault or rape, things like that, turn the podcast off or maybe skip ahead like 10 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be a little intense. We'll keep it to 10 minutes. 10 minutes should be safe, I think. I don't think we'll talk about this scene for 10 minutes. So, graphic warning. Start now. You're fighting a ghost of your buddy. In this battle, interspersed in this battle, are scenes of Alma, who shows up. You're in the machine. She gets in the machine with you, and she rapes you.
Yeah, so this is one of the parts I remember a lot, because I was like, holy crap, what?
It's intense. I mean, I haven't even seen it. I've just read it, and I'm like, yikes. So
yeah, so like it's spooky ghost girl on top of you, basically. She's like, she has the power to like literally hold your body down.
Yeah.
You know, with her psychic abilities. And like, you just get these disturbing graphic images of just her on top of you. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. You literally have to watch these images.
Yep. So then, the end of the game. I don't know what happens to the president. I'll be honest, they didn't really say. I assume she gets murdered by Alma, because here's what happens. You're in the chamber. You're in the reactor chamber. You're like, whoa, I think that was really inappropriate what just happened to me, obviously. And then the door is locked. You can't get out. Well, Alma opens the door, and this final cutscene. She's like, I'm pregnant, and it's yours. And then the baby in Alma's womb goes, Mommy. It like whispers, Mommy.
And then F.E.A.R 3 is born.
F.E.A.R 3, yep. Yeah, then we'd lead into F.E.A.R 3 from there. But yeah, that's what happens at the end of the game.
The big thing is on that last level, it feels like you're in a maze. Because, like, you have all these ghosts going at you. You have to conserve ammunition. You're fighting your way through. And I remember going, oh my god, when will this end? I feel like I've been doing this for hours. Like, it's just that mind-numbing and, like, offensive with the visuals and everything.
Yeah.
They're just like, I honestly feel trapped right now. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that, like, I need to, like, find some way out.
Well, the great news is that's probably what they were going for. Because, I mean, you still remember it to this day. Sounds like they did a pretty good job of making you feel that way. So, all right, yeah, that's the plot. That's the insane plot of this game. And that's like, again, it doesn't even end there. There's a whole nother freaking game that's like more, I wouldn't say more insane, but it is kind of in some ways more insane.
It's at least on the same level.
Yeah, agreed. It's at least as crazy as this one. Hopefully less sexual assaults, I think, in the next one. I think that only happens in this one, fingers crossed. So I haven't played F.E.A.R Files, so who knows, I guess. But, okay, let's talk about the price. So this...
It was only released on 2 consoles.
Yeah. Well, PC counts, but yes, we don't count it.
We don't count PC.
Sorry,
PC bros come and attack.
Exactly. If you're a PC bro, your money's not real, man. It doesn't matter to us.
You and your PC master race don't matter to us.
It doesn't matter to us. The money you spend on Steam buying all the F.E.A.R games doesn't matter to us.
So, it came out on the 360 and the PS3. Why don't you talk about the 360 prices?
I would love to. Loose, it's $10. Even.
Pretty good.
Complete in box is $12.52. Now, let's say this. It's like the least popular one. It's probably the least sought after F.E.A.R game. Again, you don't play as the main characters, who are a big part of the first and the third one.
even though it's like, so there's a couple things going against it. It's a new take on the story from the original that people are kind of upset about, and it's also that no one knows. So we have a couple things going against the game and why it's staying around the $10 mark. That doesn't mean that it is a bad game.
Yeah, so I mean, exactly right. If the game sucked, I mean, why wouldn't it be like $3 or $4 or who cares? Why does it even matter at all? Well, there's a little thing called backwards compatibility, my friends. The last round of backwards compatibility that they did for the Xbox One was like all the F.E.A.R games. There was more to it than that, but it was like the big draw of backwards compatibility was that they kept adding stuff. But that was the last round. They're not going to do any more backwards compatibility updates as far as I'm aware anyways. And so the last backwards compatibility update was all the F.E.A.R games. So you could buy all, if you owned all the F.E.A.R games on 360, now you can play them on your Xbox One. And that's why if you look at the prices for all the F.E.A.R stuff, it's jumped up crazy.
Yeah, so like
F.E.A.R Files is like $70.
It's actually come down a little bit. We're looking on Price Train right now. F.E.A.R 1 for the 360, these are just quick 360 prices, nothing super accurate. F.E.A.R 1's like $25. F.E.A.R Files is like $45.
It's not bad. If you can find it for that, it's not bad.
That's the thing. If you can find it for those prices. And then F.E.A.R 3 is $20. So complete for the 360 was $12.
For two.
For two, yeah.
Yeah, it was $12, 10 loose.
$12.
But yeah, that's obviously, like I said, the draw there. 1 and 3 are the ones people really want.
And then Files is a rare kind of disc, essentially.
I mean, if we're just talking like story wise, the only thing in F.E.A.R 2 that really matters story wise, Alma gets pregnant and has a child, and also that happens in the last 5 minutes of the game, right? Like you could skip this one and say like in between 1 and 3 she gets pregnant and has a kid. Boom, you're caught up. That's all you need to know, right? So.
Yeah, that's the other reason it's not, like, super expensive is probably because it's not, like, integral to the story to know everything that happens during this time.
Everything about Michael Beckett and the rest of his team doesn't particularly matter. Doesn't really stand out. Again, like we had mentioned, it's a new character. They have to make us feel emotions for this guy. Well, how do they make us feel emotions? Oh, his team gets murdered. Don't you feel so bad? No, it doesn't matter. I'm not really attached to these soldier bros who are goofing around and stuff like that.
Yeah, they all kind of come in, honestly, kind of like half-ass characters.
Yeah, it's not like, it doesn't give me like Gears of War vibes where it's like the characters super matter and we're going to focus very heavily on the characters and who they are, stuff like that, right?
Michael Beckett is not a Marcus Phoenix, for sure.
He is not. He doesn't talk, I think, in the game. He's just there. Silent protagonist. Classic. But yeah, so loose $10 on the 360, complete 12.5. PlayStation 3. I'm kind of surprised by this. PlayStation 3, $975 loose, $1354 complete. So it's more expensive complete, but it's slightly cheaper loose.
I think that probably has something to do with the fact that the PlayStation 3 might have not sold as much as the 360 one. Don't take my word on that. A
little harder to find, maybe.
Little harder to find. It also might be the fact that, like, during the time that F.E.A.R 2 was out, the Xbox Arcade was still a thing. And so people were just hooking up with composite cables, whereas if you had a PlayStation 3, you had to have an HDMI TV, and so you got a better quality picture. So there's a couple of things that can make it a little bit more expensive. It's hard to say
Could be
exactly.
anything. I mean, all things considered, it's pretty close, right? It's
yeah.
Like, cents or a dollar difference. But yeah. Do you hear that? It's almost speed corner.
Oh my God.
Almost speed corner. I didn't do a ton of research, but I'll give you this. 80%. Ranges from fastest, number one on the leaderboards, an hour and 7 minutes. 14
Insane.
seconds. It is insane. There's like 12, 15 levels in this game.
Yeah.
Like that. And they're long, man. You're fighting through enemies. It's tough. Okay, so 80%. An hour and 7 minutes, 14 seconds, to about an hour 50, just under 2 hours. Kind of
Still
standard runs.
insane.
And then the Reborn DLC, I think this is funny. There's only 4 missions in the DLC. 10 minutes. You can beat the entire DLC in 10 minutes if you really rush through it. So
I mean,
that's
like,
funny.
I think you just have to run past so many things.
It is-
You have
yeah,
to
it is.
give up so many things.
I think it is probably just like run past the enemies, get from point A to point B as fast as possible. Because there aren't that many things that lock you in. I'm pretty sure you can just like bypass a ton of enemies if you just sprint through and heal and.
The only thing that we ran into where it locked you in was in the hospital doing like the Thunderdome, basically.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention. I'm gonna take us back to gameplay for a moment. We didn't use it like at all. You can slow down time.
Oh yeah, that was the thing.
That was the thing. You can slow down time. I'll be honest. I'm playing the Outer Worlds right now. You can slow down time in that game too. I never use it there either. Time slowdown is just like a power I feel like I never use in games because I don't care.
I don't feel like it's super like integral to the game either. That's the problem.
Yeah. At no point they're like, you have psychic abilities. Like what? Telekinesis? No, you can slow down time kind of slowly for a minute.
Yeah, you have a huge adrenaline rush for like 5 seconds.
Kind of like don't care. Like it doesn't feel like it has that big of an impact on combats or anything. But let's why don't we talk about what we thought about the game? I'll start. It sucked. No, I'm kidding. Fear 2 was fun.
I'll start.
Then you say it sucked.
It sucked twice.
Oh my gosh! Ultimate burn on Monolith and Warner Brothers. No, we're kidding.
Fear is honestly a very interesting horror game. It makes
Fear 1 or Fear 2 or 3 or Files.
All Fear.
Whoa! Big statement here.
No, when I talk about Fear, I'm talking about Fear 2 here. The game was a very interesting take on horror games. Instead of making you feel helpless, like I think of like Outbreak. The Evil Dead, or not the Evil Dead, Evil Within.
Outlast?
As it Outlast?
Yeah.
Okay, Outbreak was Resident Evil. There we go. That's what I was thinking of.
Yo.
Not that, but Outlast, The Evil Within, any, games that just make you feel very helpless, like there isn't a lot or no types of weapons to defend yourself with.
Maybe PT?
PT?
That's our new Spider-Man. Instead of saying Spider-Man every episode, we're going to say PT every episode.
Every other game is Spider-Man, but when we talk about something spooky, it's PT.
I'll be like, wow, this is just like PT. Alma, dude, honestly, Alma does remind me of the spooky lady from PT.
Yeah, no kidding. Fear 2 doesn't, really, Fear in general doesn't make you feel helpless as much as it makes you feel paranoid. A very clear image for me still of playing the Fear games was that one point, I think it's in Fear 2, if I remember correctly, you have to like climb up this ladder section. And it's a lot like the ladder scene from Metal Gear Solid, where you're just, climbing down and down.
What a thrill of darkness.
It's not that bad.
Through the night. Well, I'm saying that's the sound that plays when you climb on the ladder.
Yeah.
Such a fear in my heart, but Alma's super.
But like you would climb up one side, you would have to turn around, get on the next ladder, climb up again. And each time you if you want to get on top of the ladder to the next platform, you have to look up and hit A. That was the thing.
Sure.
So I think there's probably 15 times you have to do this. And I would say about on the 12th time up, as you climb up the final ladder, you feel so safe. You look up and there's just almost face in your face.
No thanks, man. Even you describing it to me makes me not want to experience that.
Oh my! I literally had never been more scared from a video game than I was in that instance.
No, thank you.
I would say you don't feel helpless. It's the fact that it can just immediately take that feeling away from you. That safe feeling. I have a gun. I have psychic powers. I've been blowing up enemies all this time, and then all of a sudden it's almost here, and all that doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's almost like this almost omnipotent character where it doesn't matter how strong you get, what weapons you have. Alma's just there, man. Like you cannot stop Alma from being there.
Yeah, it truly shows how powerful the entity of Alma is.
Yep. So something I really liked was the journals and notes. I went into a deep dive on the story of the Fear games because I never played any of the Fear games before this, and holy crap, man, there's a lot very in-depth, and I can't imagine playing this game and not trying to get the journals and stuff because we were reading those. It feels so integral to the plot of the game to know.
It puts you in the story.
Yeah, it makes me feel like Alma. It really does immerse you and gives you the full picture of where these soldiers came from and how they were handpicked and messages from the president of the backhanded stuff, the deals she's trying to make, and Snakefist warning her what's going to happen. The whole game, the story of the whole game is so strong, and these journal entries and messages and stuff really only help to strengthen that. And help present the full story. And so, I mean, if you're going to play through this, I would highly recommend getting a guide or whatever and getting all the journals pieces and stuff like that. They are integral to the plot of the game.
I mean, you can skip past them, but like if you do that, I would say you probably miss about 50% of the story, honestly.
I would say if you do that, I don't trust you as a human being.
So, yeah, we were talking about the story and stuff, and it's a compelling story. It's so much of a compelling story that I remember from my first playthrough and from this playthrough, we started playing it, and there was no point that I was like, I feel like I should be doing something else, or I feel like maybe I want to play a different game. I wanted to keep going. I wanted to know what was happening.
It's the Game of Thrones of Xbox 360 games, not counting the Game of Thrones Xbox 360 games. Yeah, it hooked you in, man. Me too. I was like, I need to know what's going on with Alma and all this spooky flashbacks and stuff.
Yeah, it was just like a real like rush every time you found something new. You're like, oh my gosh, I found this new weapon. It allowed me to go into this area and defeat all those enemies. And oh my gosh, now I know there's the secret there. And it's like, it kept like bringing you back each and every single time.
Now, I'm going to be a naysayer here and talk about something I didn't like. At times, the game reminded me too much of just like generic shooter from the 360 era. Especially with those mech sections that I was reading about, right? Just like, felt like they were trying too hard to be like, look, it's a shooter. Everybody likes shooters. We can do that. And we can be a basic shooter. And I think the story is the element that helps, right? Because every basic shooter has to have their one thing. Duke Nukem Forever, basic shooter. It's funny. That's the whole bit. In franchised character, it's funny. Bulletstorm, basic shooter, but you can murder people in unique ways and there's like a point system for it, right?
The Tony Hawk of shooters.
The Tony Hawk of shooters. I just feel like the 360 had such an overabundance of basic shooter. And I feel like this story is the only thing that really helps it break free from that genericness.
So my only argument to that is the fact that...
Is that you suck. Shut up. Fear 2.
You suck!
Fear 2's so good. Shut up, man.
No, my only argument to that is the fact that I think it's that sense that the game is trying to lull you into this safe spot.
Sure, they want you to feel like...
They know, there was a lot of shooters coming out at that time. Modern Warfare 4 was, like, huge. Modern Warfare 2, had either come out or was coming out.
4,
Call of Duty, yeah.
Sure. So I understand what you're saying. You're saying like they're like, oh yeah, it's just like a normal shooter. Boom, spooky Alma.
Yeah, I think it's that sense that they're trying to lull you into the safe spot and then take you from it.
Right.
That would be my only argument there.
Remember, no Alma. But yeah, no. The story helped make up for what I thought the gameplay was at times lacking. So.
I mean, I can agree. There were definitely some rough edges that should have been polished up, in my opinion. There were a couple of times when we were faced with the unknown. The game just doesn't tell you what to do or how to do it. Just expects you to take lead and figure it out. And one of that comes back to is that that unkillable boss that we ended up having to do the switches and run away from. It's so they give you grenades that stop it. They give you all this extra ammo, and everything as a gamer says, kill that mech, kill that unkillable boss. And as you try, you slowly start to realize that there is no hope of killing this thing. You are a fleeting chance away from death, and you need to run. And as aggravating as that is, to not know what's happening and stuff, I think there's a little bit of beauty in game making like that, where you slowly start to come to the realization that your first instinct as a gamer is not correct, and your first instinct as a human being would be the correct choice, to just run.
See, and I'm gonna dissent a little bit from that and just say something like that, like the boss fight where we had to run around and we didn't know what we were doing, trying to kill this thing over and over and over, and you had to go pull the levers and blah blah blah. I feel like that pulled me out of the story, right? And I'm gonna mention this a little bit later, but that was my issue, right? If you want to be a horror game, be a horror game. If you want to be an action game, be an action game. But if you're going to throw these boss sections where, they're going to kill me over and over and over, you have to understand that's gonna, if you're trying to immerse me in the horror aspect and like, oh, it's a spooky, scary story, okay, and I'm dying to this boss over and over, you have to understand that I'm gonna get pulled out. I'm gonna be less focused on the spooky Alma story. I'm gonna be more focused on the how do I beat this stupid freaking boss for the 15th time, you know?
Yeah, and when it comes to things like that, as frustrating as that is, and how much I do kind of appreciate it at times, it definitely is hard to continue the story without really being taken out of it at first.
Yeah, you're not like, once you beat it, you're not like, oh, finally, now I can get back to Alma. You're like, finally, that stupid boss is done.
Finally,
now,
I can leave this place.
now I can go to the next level, right? You're not like, oh, I'm going to go to the reactor. And you're like, man, I hope I don't have to fight any more stupid bosses like that.
I think if they would have just given a little bit more direction, or if they would have integrated Alma into that fight, it would have been interesting.
All you need is Snakefist being like,
Pull the levers to defeat the mech.
and there you go. And you don't need to hold the hand of the players through every single thing, but I mean, if you're going to throw a curveball, like the whole game has been combat, shoot a thing until it dies, and now it's no longer shoot a thing until it dies. Something needs to be said.
Yeah, they could have been on the radio being like,
Oh man, that thing is crazy armor. I don't think you're getting around that.
Whoa, you're gonna have to find a different way to defeat this thing.
Yeah, it's like the throwaway line like that, boom, handled, I really think the influence of this game is still felt in modern games, something like Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, where the main playable character has a mental illness, and that their illness like messes with the game and like gaslights you, and something happens in the game, and then later on they're like, oh, that didn't happen. What are you talking about, man? Even like we had mentioned PT, right? Feeling helpless, trapped in these long hallways. PT is literally a game where you walk through the same corridor over and over and see a bunch of spooky, terrifying stuff out of the corner of your eye.
I think there was another game also called like Layers of Fear, where you're traversing a mansion and like the paintings are haunted or something.
Yeah, the art is spooky. Yep, yeah, they made 2 of those. I think Layers of Fear 1 and 2. But yeah, I think something like F.E.A.R, the influence is still felt, and there are plenty of games that have tried to have done horror shooters since. Isn't Evil Dead kind of like survival horror, like shooting? Is that guns? Is that guns in Evil Within or not?
Evil Dead has it's a comedy horror game, I think.
Evil Dead? I'm talking about Evil Within.
Oh, Evil Within. I'm sorry. I was
No,
going to be
it is.
like, I guess you want to try to draw a comparison of that.
No. Evil Within, I think, is
Evil Within is definitely more of a runaway sort of thing.
Sure.
You do have a gun, and like you have severely limited ammunition.
Sure. Well, there's like, I think of RE7 is pretty like, you have a bunch of ammo
Yeah.
to shoot a bunch of guys and spooky wander around. But I think a very common horror trope we see even on a lot of indie stuff is like spooky thing out of the corner of your eye.
Yep.
Which obviously, I'm not going to say Alma did it first. Obviously, not even close. Talking about film or TV or any of that stuff, but it sticks out. Alma's like I said, much like the soldiers are made with her DNA. The games, Alma is extremely a heavy part of the game's DNA, and that influence is still felt, I think, in modern horror games to some extent.
Yeah, it's the game really gets you into a paranoid state if you play for a prolonged period of time. Because at some points you're just like, man, I don't want to go into that bathroom that has no lights and I have to use my flashlight to look in the stalls for ammunition that I desperately need. Because I think I'm going to get jump scared again. And then like you go and do it and then nothing happens. And then it makes you even more paranoid because you're still waiting for it to happen.
Now you're like, something else is going to happen later where, almost.
And then nothing happens for a while and then you start to like calm down and then bam, she hits again.
Yep. Well, let's talk about some fun facts, or should I say F.E.A.R facts, about the game F.E.A.R 2. So, I kind of mentioned the DLC. There's a Reborn DLC for this game, where you play as one of the clones or something like that. But, spooky. Fettel, the evil commander, the antagonist of the first F.E.A.R game, he's like in your brain. At the end of the DLC, big spoiler for a DLC for a game that came out 13 years ago.
Yeah.
You look in the mirror at the end and your basic soldier dude turns into Fettel. Like Fettel's like overtaken his mind and body.
Dang.
So that's kind of your lead into F.E.A.R 3 is like, ooh, Fettel, the evil bad guy from 3 is back.
The F.E.A.R does a couple of cool things, especially in F.E.A.R 2. When you're looking around initially in the beginning of the game, when you're trying to get your bearings and understand what's happening, looking around, there's a couple of interesting things that you'll note. One of them is the fact that when you look at your teammates, their ranks appear next to their names.
It's a Call of Duty in that,
Yeah,
in that respect, it feels like.
Like, I don't think we really see this again later in the story, other than, like, maybe once or twice. And it's just a unique, like, thing that they just threw in there for funsies. There's also a ton, and I mean a ton of hidden dialogue in this game.
Yeah, there's, like, optional dialogue all throughout the game, depending on the choices you make. So I showed some of this off dialogue because I knew some of this. There's a fountain in the beginning area and a bunch of cars. So if you jump in the fountain, there's dialogue where one of the soldier dudes is like, "What the hell are you doing in the fountain, soldier?" And then when you meet up with your buddies, they're like, "What took so long?" He's like, "Sorry, what was the guy's name?" Barrett? No, it was... Oh, I'm going to go find it. Sorry. It was Barrett, right?
Yeah, Barrett.
Okay, you maybe said that and I'm just dumb. They'll be like, "Why are you so late?" And they'll be like, "Barrett was taking a shower out in the courtyard," or something. But it's like, if you don't jump in the fountain, you won't hear that line of dialogue. Or there's another one about shooting all the cars. You shoot the windows out of all the cars. He's like, "Are you done? Those aren't even your vehicles." And then when you show up, they're like, "Why are you late?" He's like, "Sorry, he had to mess around with all the cars."
Yeah, he's being a little vandal.
Yeah, he's like, he was vandalizing all the cars. So there's a ton of hidden dialogue throughout throughout the game, where it's like, if you do weird specific stuff, they'll have like a throwaway line about it, which is super fun.
There's also like just some fun things of like, you get grenades in the game, and if you time your grenades and throw them just right at an enemy, it'll fly across, hit them, explode, and they'll splatter into tiny little pieces.
Yeah, they will instigate, as they say.
They'll just be
Explode
vaporized on
explode
sight.
into little bits. Yep. And let's talk about Monolith. I had teased this a little bit earlier. This is my Reborn DLC for our podcast. Monolith Productions does still exist. Yippee!
Woo!
Most recently, they did the Middle-earth games.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
They went from F.E.A.R to Middle Earth.
Yeah. And they're like, all the orcs are like, "Almost gonna rip your innards out through your bunghole."
Could you imagine if they put like a little Easter egg in there?
Maybe
like
there is. Honestly, maybe there is. That would be cool. But so, those were also made by Warner Brothers. Monolith and Warner Brothers still having a fruitful relationship all this years later. And they're also making a Wonder Woman game with WB.
Which is crazy. I want to know what that looks like. Will it make me feel like Spider-Man, but Wonder Woman?
It'll make you feel... I hope they have the invisible plane. That's all I care about. I want the invisible plane and the lasso of truth. That's what I want. You ever play Superman Returns? This is a right turn.
Oh, I don't believe so.
Okay, so they were like, how do you make a video game where you play as an invincible superhero? So instead of Superman having a health bar, Metropolis has a health bar. So you have to had to go around and save the city from danger and stuff. I didn't play it a ton, but I do remember fond memories of playing Superman Returns. But it is kind of goofy like that. It's like, they're making a Wonder Woman game. You're like, what are they gonna do for a Wonder Woman game? It should be interesting. I mentioned this a whole bunch, but the game was originally called Project Origin before they got the F.E.A.R's licensing back. But there were many titles in consideration. Like we mentioned, even Snake Fist was in consideration. There were some dumb ones, I think, right?
Yeah.
I don't even remember. There was one that was
wasn't it like Black Eyes or something like that?
There was one. It was instead of fear, it was scary or something. Yeah. It was something really dumb like that. But there was again a whole competition where they had people try and submit names for what the replacement game.
It was really cool to see things like Snake Fist make it still into the game. Right. I like that they used
stuff that was suggested still made it in one way or another, which is super fun. Have you ever played? I'm going to keep just talking about other video games. No, you ever played Force Unleashed?
Yes.
Okay, so Darth Vader's apprentice, they call him Starkiller.
Yep.
That was originally Luke Skywalker's last name was originally Starkiller.
Yep.
Right, so that's it. The same hat where it's like they call him Starkiller. If you know the backstory of the name Starkiller, you're like, oh, that's a funny nod. Because Skywalker was originally going to be Starkiller. But
also, sad face. That's Starkiller's story is not canon anymore, thanks to Disney.
We'll see, man. Dude. I've been saying this. Okay, we're turning it into a news episode a little bit, dude. Okay, so the next Jedi Fallen Order game is called Jedi Survivor, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. What if freaking what's the guy named? His name is Cal, right?
Yep.
Okay, what if Cal runs into Starkiller? Wouldn't that be freaking amazing?
Man, you are trying to drop some
There's no way, but Wouldn't it be freaking sweet, though, if Star Killer was in that freaking game?
Josh over here just writing the sauce for the next Star
Absolutely,
Wars
yeah.
game.
Any developers out there listening, bring Star Killer back. Because that was
Just make Disney mad.
okay. Have you ever played? I'm gonna keep going. Have you ever played the Ultimate Sith Edition?
No, I have
Force Unleashed?
not.
I have it. It's a Steelbook PS3 game. My aunt bought me this when I was a kid. Steelbook 360 game. It has like 3 extra missions that the base game doesn't have. And I don't think these are DLC you can buy. I think you have to get the special edition that's expensive to get these. The missions feature... So it's like in the game, you're like a good guy, right? So at the end, they make you fight Darth Vader, and you're like, I'm a good guy, man. I'm not going to kill him.
And then Alma invades your mind.
And then Alma invades your mind and does not good things with you, and you become evil. No, so the DLC is like, what if Star Killer did kill Vader and became Palpatine's apprentice?
Whoa.
Yeah, and so you play as evil Star Killer, just like murdering everyone in your path. So you go, there's a Tatooine level where you go onto the Sandcrawler and you just like start killing Jawas and stuff like that. But if that would be sweet if they took that ending where, not where he killed Vader, obviously, but where if they took, like, he was still evil and out there and doing stuff, if they took that and made him fight.
I'm glad this turned into a news episode all of a sudden.
Dude, I have Force Unleashed 1 and 2. I never played 2. I played the crap out of 1. I'm so excited to go back. I'm probably going to watch, like, Kenobi or something, and then be like, I'm going to play Force Unleashed again. And I got not Force Unleashed, I got Jedi Fallen Order on the PS5, which I played through it on PS4. Holy crap, what an amazing game. If you haven't played through it, please go play Jedi Fallen Order. Amazing game. I'm excited. Probably when the new one comes out, I'm going to play through Fallen Order first. That game is so much fun.
All right, back to the fun facts about F.E.A.R. before we get too far off on a tangent.
So in Jedi Fallen Order...
Oh my god,
I'm
come
kidding.
on.
I'm kidding.
All right, so there are some like other fun things in the school. There's a level that has like a roll call written on the blackboards, and like there's a guy whose name is like BJ Knoll or something.
BJ
like,
Knobs.
or BJ Knobs. There's like a little chibi Alma that's drawn on the blackboards. There's like various pictures in the room of bearded men, which we found out are the developers in the game.
And 2 squirrels.
And there's just 2 squirrels just chilling.
Classic roll call.
There's also some slide projectors in another room that is like desynced with like the audio, and I guess it's supposed to represent what Alma views as the world.
Yeah, so it shows like a picture of a brain, and the audio says playground, or it shows a picture of a teacher, and the audio says snake.
So to Alma, the brain is the playground. Adults or teachers are the bad people because they don't want to let her use her abilities like she wants.
Yeah, they're trying to like kidnap her or capture her in some way. Absolutely.
There's a multiplayer map because there was multiplayer for F.E.A.R. 2.
Yep.
Yay!
Yay! That's shooters from this era, doesn't matter if they're single player or not. There's going to be a multiplayer aspect.
There's a multiplayer map called Cockroach, and there is a bottle of pills in that level with a very clearly written title called Boner Alice.
Who knows what those pills do? They could do anything.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
A level called Cockroach, pills called Boner Alice.
We'll never know.
You can put it together if you want. You go down that mystery rabbit hole.
We'll never know. The developers, we need somebody to confirm this to the developers. What does it mean? What does it mean? I want a F.E.A.R. remake. Bring back the Boner Alice pills. We need more information about them. Okay, let's talk about what we liked and didn't like. I'll start. So you always start. I want to start.
I just like going first, man.
Well, now I'm going first. I feel like I've kind of talked about it. What I love the most was the story. Like I said, the story is really what sets this apart from other games of its time. Alma is an amazing and complex character, and sometimes this game does just feel like a normal shooter, but the story keeps not just myself, but others coming back. When these went backwards compatible, there's a reason they spiked up in price.
Oh my god!
I mean, if nobody cared, they would have stayed the same price.
I think at one point, F.E.A.R. 2 got up to be like almost $50.
Yeah,
people were in high demand of these games.
Yeah, the moment they went backwards compatible, the prices skyrocketed because everybody was scrambling to find a copy of the games they played when they were young and had a fun time playing. So it's not just me being like, oh man, the story rules. I mean, the people have spoken. They love the F.E.A.R. series. But what my least favorite part was just the kind of endless enemies at times. You have these long hallways, enemies spawning all around you, all behind you. You're climbing upstairs, going up and down all around, very like you said, winding kind of maze-like pathways. And like I'd mentioned with the boss fight, it sucks to really become unimmersed in the game just by like some, you didn't kill one enemy who murdered you, right? Stuff like that. So that can be really frustrating and take you out of the story sometimes, which again I feel is the strongest point. Like I mentioned, be a really good horror game, be a really good action game. Pick kind of one or the others. That's what I want.
Pick more one side or the other.
That's kind of what I wanted. I wanted them to pick more horror or more action, and maybe maybe F.E.A.R 1 and F.E.A.R 3 do that. Maybe that's why F.E.A.R 2 is not very expensive, right? It's very possible that's what people didn't like, was that they didn't really hard decide one or the other.
So for me, I think I pretty much covered this entire thing talking through this episode. F.E.A.R 2 captured my interest with its take on paranoia horror, as the game it feels like the game's coming in from all sides. It's squeezing the walls in on you, and you just get this sense of urgency. Like, you have to keep running, you have to keep fighting, you have to just keep going. There's no end, there's no breathing room. And I love that. That was such a good feeling, because you were shooting down enemies, you had all this going on, but at the same time, you never felt like you left that space of, oh my gosh, almost coming after me. Unless it was broken by, unkillable bosses or something, where you really had to rethink through it. The one part that it could have done better in my opinion, though, is its sense of directions and clear pathways. Because it's maze-like. It doesn't tell you what to do. There are moments where, like, if you're trying to do the collectibles, it doesn't really tell you what you have and what you don't have. It gives you a list of everything, but, you would have to go replay the game and see if you missed something. It's just, like, all this confusion. But, when it comes to, like, I say clear pathways because it feels so maze-like. You can honestly almost get lost in some levels. I remember we loaded my old save, and I ended up backtracking even though I thought I was going forward, because the levels are just so unclear. It's just this muddled mix.
That was like the first level.
Yeah, it was the first level.
It wasn't even like a later level. It was literally like the first level, and you went the wrong way because you weren't sure.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I also kind of feel like maybe it shouldn't be clear. Maybe that sense of being lost inside a horror game is what makes it truly terrifying.
Now you're hitting me with like some Stanley Parable stuff right now, man.
So, I in all honesty, F.E.A.R 2 is something that is obviously going to be kind of argued within for and against. People love it for certain reasons. People don't like it for other reasons. Obviously, me and Josh have a contrast on opinion on the game a little bit.
Yeah, I think this game is big, stinky duty. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. I wasn't blown away, but it was fun.
But, we both agreed that the story was incredibly interesting.
Best part, absolutely best part of the game.
And I don't know about you, Josh, but for me, it would make me want to continue with the series.
That's why I read all the plot. I was immediately like, wow, this story's amazing. I'm going to go absorb all of this and understand all of the plot. So,
and I think it just goes to show, even a game that is, quote-unquote, maybe technically bad, still isn't a bad game.
Yeah.
There's a great aspect to this game. There's just things that we would like to change if, we could go and remake it or something.
Yep. This would be my Kingdom Hearts title, where instead of playing through the whole thing, I would just give it like the 10 cutscenes, and then I'd be like, that's all you need to know. You don't need to play through this one. Just here's your story information. So here's why we think it deserves to go on your backlog, and deserves backlog status. F.E.A.R 2 may not be the series' strongest entry, but it is definitely a fun playthrough, especially with all the hidden journals and fun stuff to collect. The series is known for its strong storytelling, and this one, of course, is no different. We'd recommend this one to any fans of shooters and the paranormal.
I would say if you want a platform to start on for F.E.A.R, I wouldn't pick F.E.A.R 2. It's not, like, integral to the story.
Start with the first one.
Start with the first one, go to maybe the third, just understand what happens in the second, or if you want to play them in order, you certainly can. But I would definitely starting with F.E.A.R File, or not F.E.A.R Files, F.E.A.R 1 is definitely the way to go.
Here's the thing, if you just skip, much like those speedruns, if you just pass by all the enemies, then boom, an hour and 7 minutes of time.
It takes you an hour to get it done. Easy peasy, guys.
Easy peasy. But yeah, recommend this one. Check it out. If you haven't, start with the first one. But yeah, I think that's going to be us. That's going to be it for us tonight. talking about Fear 2.
Links down below.
Like
our
always.
email.
Our email.
If you have Goblin Commander info, we're still looking for that.
If you have Alma info, stay far away from me. I don't want to hear it.
Please, we don't want that.
I don't want the Alma info. I'm good. I saw more than enough. I read more than enough to last a lifetime. So, well, Fear 2. That's us. I'm Josh.
I'm Alex.
Good night. That's my psychic, like spooky. No, I'm like a psychic being.
Your psychicness is your creepy laugh?
I'm in your brain. I'm in your brain. I'm in your brain now. I'm in your brain. I'm in your brain. I'm in your walls. I'm in your walls. I'm in your walls. Get out. I'm in your walls.
Fear 2 captured my interest with its take on the paranoia horror aspect.
So anyways, Force Unleashed.
Oh my god, you're making this so hard.